Welcome back, grade 11s. Now let's quickly wrap up the lesson that we have had today. Now, remember that in the previous lesson, we discussed entrepreneurial qualities and their success factors. We also looked at transforming a business plan into an action plan, starting a business venture based on an action plan, as well as presentation of business information. And in this lesson, we looked at the different forms of ownership and their characteristics, as well as avenues of acquiring a business. Now, you must make a note to say that all these topics combined form the main topic, which is called business ventures. So when you study for your exams, you must remember that business ventures comprises of these topics. Now let's quickly recap the common errors made in the topics or the chapters that I have mentioned. The first error that is possible to make is that you might struggle to identify the sources of funding from given scenarios. Now remember, grade 11s, that for you to identify in the scenario, you must know the different types of funding that exist. Now, to do this, think about the different ways in which businesses can obtain their capital. This will help you to identify now the sources in the given scenario. It is also possible that you might have a challenge in identifying the different visual aids from the scenario. Again, grade 11s, the only way for you to identify correctly is if you familiarize yourself with the different visual aids that are used in grade 11. So you need to then go back and check what are the different visual aids that we have. This will then make it easy for you to see it in a scenario. For instance, if I talk about a slide, you must know where are slides used. So you will then remember to say, okay, the visual aid referred to here might be a PowerPoint or even a data projector. Then also you can confuse the factors to consider when preparing with the factors of responding to feedback in a professional and non-aggressive manner. Remember that factors to consider when preparing happen before the actual presentation, whereas the factors to consider when responding happens after a presentation has been done. When looking at forms of ownership, it is possible that you can confuse limited and unlimited liability. Remember that when we look at limited, it means that your personal assets cannot be seized to pay the debts of the business. But when you have unlimited, it means that there is no limit to what the bank can do in order for them to get their money back, which is why they can seize your personal assets in order to pay the debts of the business. You must also not confuse a memorandum of incorporation with a prospectus. Remember that this memorandum of incorporation is a document that shows the roles and responsibilities, whereas a prospectus is used to advertise shares for the business. And also remember that this can only be done for public companies. And also, it might be difficult for you to state the characteristics of the different forms of ownership. In order for you to remember well, you need to go back to your forms of ownership and remind yourself what each form of ownership is about. That will make it easier for you to identify the characteristics. When we talk about avenues, it is possible that you might confuse a franchisor with the franchisee and a lessor with the lessee. Now remember that I said with these two, these are the original owners of the asset or the business, whereas these are the people that are borrowing. So that will help you to differentiate between the two. Also, you must not confuse the contractual implication of the three. So go back and revise them thoroughly. With that said, grade 11s, I hope you have enjoyed today's lesson and I am looking forward to seeing you in the next. Remember to always stay shining bright wherever you are so that you are always visible. This is goodbye from me.